What's up guys, in today's video we are going to be reacting to Her Story, and if you don't know who Her Story is, it's like his story, but her. So anyway, let's get into it.
Me and my son were in the airplane bathroom when I tried to open the door, but my hand wouldn't move. Liam was kicking his heel against the wall the way he did on every flight when we were in the bathroom together. I tried again, but my entire body was paralyzed. Something was wrong with me, and I couldn't tell him. I tried again, and my hand still wouldn't move. Someone started knocking on the door, soft at first, then harder, then a fist that didn't stop. I tried my best to at least move my mouth to scream for help, but my body refused to move. "Mommy," Liam said, but my head wouldn't turn to look at him. I tried to say his name, and my mouth wouldn't work. My body started shaking, and I couldn't make it stop. The edges of my vision went black, and the little mirror above the sink started to disappear. "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy, what's wrong?" Liam's voice climbed each time. A woman started shouting through the door. "What is wrong with you in there? Some of us need to use the bathroom." The lock turned from outside, and the door slid open. Her eyes hit my face,
sorry
and the
guys,
shouting stopped.
sorry for pausing it, but I forgot to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I did change my room. Look, so it's nothing up here. I have a lower bed now instead of a higher one. I need to make my bed. Yeah, I have a high one instead of a lower one. Don't worry, since this background is not even kind of really boring, yeah, I'm gonna change it. I mean, not change it, but like, I'll put posters on it. Anyway.
Oh my God, can you hear me?" She told the flight attendant without taking her eyes off me. "Active stroke, female, 40s, get this plane on the ground so we can save her life." She got me out of the stall and laid me on my side on the galley floor. She kept her hand on my shoulder until we landed. I'd had a stroke at 35,000 feet, and she was a doctor flying home from a conference. She rode in the ambulance holding Liam's hand the whole way. I survived with some weakness on my left side. The doctors said another 20 minutes in the air, and I wouldn't have survived. Every time we take a flight, Liam asks, "Is the angry lady who saved you flying with us today?" Me and my son were in the airplane bathroom when I caught my husband sneaking out of bed in the middle of the night and coming home at 5 a.m. with woman's jewelry in his pocket. I pointed at it. "Whose jewelry is this? This isn't mine." He looked nervous, like I caught him doing something bad. "None of your business. Go back to bed." He dismissed me entirely and walked away, smiling ear to ear. I knew he was hiding something, and I was sure the jewelry was from another woman, and he was cheating on me. So I went back to bed and came up with the perfect plan to find out the truth. The next day, I bought him a fancy new smartwatch and surprised him with it. I told him it's because I love him. He was thrilled and put it on, but what he didn't know was that while setting it up, I secretly turned on location tracking, synced his health data to my phone,
By the
and
way,
made
I just
myself
want
his
to say,
emergency.
this is not better than his story. This is 100% not better than his story. I mean, it's good, really good actually, but not better than his story. Just gotta say that.
Contact, so I'd be able to see where exactly he went. And that same night, he tiptoed out of bed again, thinking I was asleep. An hour later, my phone buzzed. A notification from the watch. His heart rate was climbing, and the watch pinned his location at a house in a fancy neighborhood. My stomach turned because he was at another woman's house. I grabbed my keys to drive over there and catch him in the act. But on the way there, an emergency alert flashed on my screen. His heart rate had spiked to dangerous levels, and the watch had auto-dialed 911. My eyes widened. What was he doing? I slammed on the gas and sped to that house. I pulled up and jumped out, ready to kick him in his balls. But as I stormed to the house, the front door burst open, and men in black ski masks came pouring out, carrying bags. I gasped. They spotted me and aimed their guns right at me. I threw my hands up, screaming. Sure, I was about to die, wondering if they already had killed my husband. But then I noticed it. On one of their wrists was the exact smartwatch I'd given my husband. I stuttered, "Wait, is that you?" The robber froze, then slowly pulled off his mask. My jaw dropped. It was my husband. He wasn't cheating, he was robbing houses. And the watch had called 911 the second his heart spiked mid-robbery. Sirens screamed down the street, and the cops swarmed in. As they threw their hands up, the duffel bags hit the ground, and women's jewelry spilled out across the grass. I caught my husband sneaking out of bed in the middle of the night and coming home at... My dad put $20 on my table every time I studied for an exam and told me to use...
Life is unfair.
It for a Snickers and a Red Bull. He swore every night.
$20.
My 6-year-old marched into my bathroom, handed me my toothbrush, and said, 2 minutes. Maisie brushed beside me at the sink with the focus of a tiny, deadly serious dentist, never taking her eye. My dad put $20 on my table every time I studied for an exam, and told me to use it for a Snickers and a Red Bull. He swore that back in college, he only passed exams if he had Snickers and a Red Bull beforehand, and failed if he didn't. I laughed and just pocketed the money. But when I got into medical school and failed my first 3 exams, he put $20 on my table. And I thought, screw it. 30 minutes before my next exam, I FaceTimed him with a Red Bull and Snickers. He genuinely pumped his fists. And 4 days later, when my professor handed my paper back and my my jaw dropped. 93. I immediately called him and shouted, "It worked." But when he picked me up that afternoon to go celebrate, I suddenly got extremely dizzy. "Dad, I don't feel so good." But when I looked over, he was also swaying behind the wheel. My vision blurred and I blacked out. I woke up in a hospital bed with my dad also in a bed next to me. I was about to ask why we were here when a doctor wrapped a sleeve around both our arms. "You two have genetically low blood pressure. I recommend constantly having sugar or else your brain won't be able to stay alert." I looked at her and suddenly it clicked. "Dad,
You are
I
so
know why we
lucky,
passed the
bro.
exams. All the caffeine and sugar from the Snickers and Red
Huh?
Bull raised our blood pressure to normal levels so
Hold
we could
up, I'll be right
concentrate
back.
better. It was never the Snickers
My mic turned on. Great. Anyway, hope you guys could hear me.
and Red Bull."
I
Dad
got a
looked at me
cookie.
for a long time. "Nah, it's
Homemade.
still Snickers and Red Bull." My dad put $20 on my table every night at 8:30. My 6-year-old marched into my bathroom, handed me my toothbrush, and said, "2 minutes." Maisie brushed beside me at the sink with the focus of a tiny...
Next.
My 7-year-old son was playing with his Bop It toy from the yard sale. "Twist it!" He twisted it, and I laughed until it said, "Take a $100 bill out of your mom's purse. Steal it." I rubbed my eyes in shock. Why was a toy telling my son to steal? My son came running into the kitchen and reached his hand into my purse. "Dean, what the hell was that?" Dean took out the $100 bill and shrugged. "It's just a game, Mommy." I grabbed the toy out of his hand and bopped it in the middle. It spoke again. "Now bring the money to 45th Street. Come alone. Do not tell your mom. Bring it." Dean tugged my sleeve. "Mom, pretend you didn't hear that. I don't want to lose the game." I grabbed my keys because we were going to find out exactly who was behind this. "Then let's go win, baby. I'll drive you." We got in the car, and when I pulled onto 45th Street, there was a line of kids clutching Bop Its and fistfuls of bills. My eyes widened because I realized they'd all been scammed just like my son. We got out to follow the line, and my grip tightened on Dean's shoulder because it led straight to the same yard sale we'd bought the Bop It from. I pulled my son behind a truck and dialed 911 while the man patted a kid on the head as he took his money. "Good job, buddy. You won the game. Come back at the same time next week." When 2 squad cars rolled up, the man raised both hands with a big, friendly smile. "Officers, it's a yard sale. Kids love toys." Then a cop lifted the garage door behind him, and there it was, a whole wall of Bop Its that had been taken apart, sitting beside stacks of cash. He'd been rigging the toys with speakers before he sold them, so every kid who bought one got tricked into giving him money. They cuffed him against his own folding table. Dean tugged my sleeve,
Oh,
and the
shut
$100
up.
bill, a fat kid, fell through the sky and
Oh
landed
my
on my
God.
spine. I was crossing the road when a woman driving 80 miles over the speed. I walked into my house and instantly rolled my eyes because there was a hole in my roof I'd never seen, and I had no idea how it got there. It was so small, I wasn't even going to fix it. But that night, while I was sleeping, I woke up to water pouring on my face because it
Good
was
rain.
raining. I called a contractor in the morning and stood outside. I was walking out of the store when an old man on a red mobility scooter rolled up next to me and asked if he could carry my groceries.
I've seen this
I told
one,
him no
guys. Not
thanks
what you
and
think.
started walking home. I shifted my grocery
It's
bag to
not
my other
what
hand,
you
slipped my
first
wallet
thought.
into my back pocket, and clenched my keys between my fingers like my mom taught me. When I glanced back half a block later, he was still rolling behind me with that little basket up front. I walked faster. The scooter matched my pace. I had no idea what this old man wanted from me, but it couldn't be good. I kept glancing back the whole walk home, and every time he was still there with the scooter humming behind me. I took my usual left turn, and he took the same left. A block later, I turned onto Walnut, and so did he, and my chest tightened. Who was this guy? Michael Myers? I was full-on speed walking now, looking back every few seconds, but I couldn't lose the hum of the scooter. Every true crime podcast I'd ever listened to started playing in my head. I dropped the grocery bag and sprinted. I cut through somebody's yard and looped around the block with my heart pounding. When I finally turned onto my street, he was already there at the far end with my front door halfway between us. I ran. I burst inside, slammed the door, locked it, and pressed my back against it. My hands were shaking
It's
so
not what
hard
you
I
guys
couldn't
think.
steady them. Outside, the hum got louder until it stopped right in front of my apartment. 3 slow knocks. I crawled to the peephole and looked through it. The old man was holding something up in one hand. It took me a full 5 seconds to realize it was my wallet. I checked
No,
my back pocket.
told you.
Empty. I
Told
slowly
you.
opened the door.
I've seen
"You
it
dropped
before."
this in the parking lot," he said. I tried to catch up, but these scooters don't go very fast.
No,
I
no
took
one
the
can-
wallet
I'm
with both
joking.
hands. Too stunned, I walked into school with my new platform shoes, and my classmate Darren instantly pointed at them. "Hey, can we swap? Those look so cool." I told him no, because one of my legs is shorter than the other, and these shoes are custom built so I can walk around pain-free. Darren snarled and took off his shoes, but mine light up. "You'll be fine." I told him no and walked away. But during lunch, I felt a sharp pain in my foot. I took off my shoe to see what was wrong, and that's when Darren grabbed my shoe. "If I can't have your shoes, then neither can you." He threw them down the hill before I could stop him. I watched the reason I could walk pain-free tumble down and land somewhere deep in a dirty bush. I dropped to the floor crying, but then
Guys.
Darren gripped his head. "Oh my God, one of your legs is actually shorter. That's so funny." He took out his phone and
Yeah,
started taking
dumbass.
pictures, and that's when I snapped. I stood up, clenched my fists, and told him, Since you threw my shoes, you can go find them. I pushed him, and he went flying down the hill. I watched him tumble into the same dirty bush and clutched my stomach laughing. I was still on the ground rolling when Darren walked out of the bush, now crying because his arms and face were cut from the thorns. He still didn't have my shoe, but he immediately ran and told the teacher. But when she marched up the hill and I explained what happened, her face instantly went hard. She turned to Darren and told him, "You know she needs this shoe to walk, and you still threw it away, so you're gonna go find it." She pointed at the bushes so fast, Darren didn't even have time to protest. He crawled back into the thorns on his hands and knees, and I watched him dig through the leaves smirking. He came out with my shoe an hour later. I put it back on. The funny thing was, I saw where the shoe was the whole time. I just chose to let him crawl. A lawyer in a $3,000 suit slid his glass of wine back at me and told me he wasn't paying for garbage. He'd swirled it once and made a face like he'd licked a battery. I can taste the difference between real French wine and the cheap junk you scam tourists with. Get me your wine guy. We didn't have a wine guy. He grabbed my wrist before I could turn. Sweetheart, I drink wine that costs more than your rent. Go to the back, bring me what you keep from people who actually know wine and no tricks. I have a $400 nose. I'll know. I wiped the rim of the same bottle he just sent back, poured it into a fancy glass pitcher, and brought it out on a shiny silver tray. This is our special bottle, sir. We don't open it without the manager's okay, but I made an exception. He swirled it, sniffed it like he was diffusing a bomb, and closed his eyes. Heads turned. Now, this is what real wine tastes like. A real wine guy knows in 2 seconds. He waved me over. Notice the smoothness now. 15 years of training, and you taste the difference between real wine and grape juice with a fancy label. Charge me extra for it. Put another bottle on the bill to take home. I charged him for 2 bottles. He shook my hand on the way out and slipped me $100. You've got a real future in this business, sweetheart. I waited until the door closed. Same bottle, same wine. The $400 nose just paid $400 more for it. I poured the last glass for table 4. On the house, from the gentleman in the suit. A lawyer in a $3,000 suit. On my first day in prison, I saw my bunkmate shaving her legs with a piece of cardboard. I had no money in my commissary, so I pulled out a thread from the uniform and walked towards her. "I'll thread all the hairs on your body."
What do you mean by that?
In exchange for ramen and a Snickers. She handed it over before I finished talking. "Girl, you're like really good. Wait till everybody hear about this. Just don't let the COs catch you with it." Right after I was done, a woman with the driest face I'd ever seen showed up at my cell. "You know how to do makeup? I'll give you spicy Doritos and canned octopus." She excitedly jumped in front of me, and I rubbed cherry lip balm across a magazine page till the ink bled into the wax, then painted her lips and cheeks. She giggled. "So what you locked up for? Being too good at makeup or something?" I smiled sadly. "I'm not supposed to be here." She just shrugged, because that's what everyone in prison says. When I was done, she looked in the mirror and smiled. "Girl, that's perfect." I stepped out of my cell to look for the next customer, but I was faced with an officer holding his baton. But he glanced down the hall and lowered his voice. "My wife's visiting Sunday. Can you make me look, presentable?" I did his brows for $10 cash, and after that, the guards stopped pretending to care. They paid to skip the line and smuggled me real makeup tools from the outside so I could get even better at beauty. When I finally saved enough money to bail myself out of prison, I counted it out and posted it myself. Now I thread brows at a real salon instead of a prison cell. On my first day in prison, I saw my bunkmate shaving her legs with a piece of cardboard. I had no money in my My son was in a school karate contest with a disabled kid, and he flexed his biceps to the crowd. "Who wants to see me win?" Half the school was chanting his name, and his opponent Sam limped onto the mat, one arm curled against his chest. I pushed down the bleacher steps, ready to drag my son off that mat myself. My son Cody bounced on his toes and cupped a hand to his ear. "Who wants to see me take him down?" The gym roared, and even the teachers were laughing behind their clipboards. A parent chaperone stuck her arm out to stop me from going any further. "They're focused. Don't try to disturb them." Sam planted his good arm into a fighting stance, and the referee dropped his hand between them. "Fight!" The crowd got impatient. "Come on, Cody!" But Sam stepped inside his guard, swung his good arm, and cracked Cody across the jaw so hard the sound echoed. Cody hit the mat flat on his back and stayed down. The referee lifted Sam's arm. I guess we have a winner." The crowd clapped lazily, but I was cheering and whistling at the top of my lungs. Sam was grinning ear to ear, looking happier than I'd ever seen him. And when Cody ran out to the water fountain, I chased after him. "What the hell is wrong with you? I didn't raise you like that." He put his hands on my shoulders. "Mom, I let him win." My jaw dropped and he continued. "I was always gonna let him win. I just hyped the crowd to make sure it felt real when he did." Behind him, the same kids who chanted Cody's name were now crowding around Sam, lifting his arm like a champion. I didn't need to find out if I raised him right. He'd been showing me the whole time. My son was in a school karate contest with a disabled kid, and he flexed. It was my first day as the captain's assistant on a boat tour when I went below deck and saw water spraying through a crack in the bottom of the boat. My heart raced as I sprinted up and grabbed the captain's arm. "Sir, there's a leak. We need to evacuate." But he rolled his eyes. "Relax, rookie. This boat always leaks a little. I've done this 1,000 times." I wanted to believe him, but the deck was packed with families, little kids in life vests eating ice cream, miles from shore. And when I looked back down the stairs, the water had already swallowed the bottom steps, and I knew this boat would sink in minutes. this. Please, we have to turn back. But he shoved me aside and gunned the engine toward a shortcut. I'm not ruining my schedule over a little puddle. But then the boat slammed over a bed of rocks, and I heard a crash from below. I ran down to check, and the original crack had split into a gaping hole, water pouring in faster than before. The floor tilted so fast, a little girl slid past me screaming, "Mommy, we're sinking!" I ran back up to the wheel, where the captain stood frozen, so I grabbed the radio myself. "Mayday, we're sinking 2 miles out. Send help now." Cold water surged up over my ankles, and the second it hit the captain's feet, his face went white and he lost it. "I'm scared of drowning. Every man for himself." He tore the radio from my hands, grabbed a life raft, and shoved past me so hard the steering wheel snapped off its mount. I yelled, "You can't leave us!" But he'd already jumped, and it was just me, a broken wheel, and a boat full of crying families going under. We had maybe a minute before we went under, so I slammed the emergency lever, and the life rafts burst open along the rails. The water was at my knees as I dragged every family up out of it and shoved them in. But by the time I went back and grabbed the broken wheel, the water was at my waist and freezing, but I forced it back onto its mount. I steered quickly toward the shore as it rose to my chest, and the boat started sinking under me. Then the boat hit the shallow bottom and stopped, safe, as the Coast Guard raced in to help families from my mayday. But out in the waves, the captain was tangled in the raft he'd stolen, going under, screaming, "Help me, I'm drowning." I dove in and dragged him back onto shore. You've done this 1,000 times, and a rookie had to save your ship and your life. It was my first...
That is going to wrap it up for today's video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I absolutely cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye.